There is a quiet panic that happens when you feel misunderstood. Not loud, not dramatic, just that tight feeling in your chest when someone's tone changes, when their reply gets colder, when they say, okay, but you can feel they didn't really understand you. And suddenly you start explaining. Then you explain the explanation. Then you soften your words. Then you clarify your intention. Not because you are confident, because you are afraid. You are not only trying to be understood, you are trying to stop them from seeing you as selfish, difficult, cold, wrong, or too much. And that is where over-explaining begins. It looks like communication, but underneath it often comes from fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being rejected, fear of losing your place in someone's mind. At first, it feels harmless. You send one message to clear things up, then another one because the first one sounded too serious, then another one because maybe they misunderstood your tone. And suddenly you are defending yourself for something that did not need a courtroom. You are no longer speaking from peace. You are trying to protect your image. That is why over-explaining can make you look weak. Not because honesty is weak, not because clarity is weak, but because over-explaining has a different energy. It does not say, here is what I mean. It says, please don't think badly of me. It says, please approve of my intention. It says, please don't leave me alone with your judgment. And people can feel that. They feel when your words come from calm, and they feel when your words come from panic. The more you explain from fear, the less grounded you appear, because it starts to look like their opinion has more power over you than your own truth. You say something once, they question it, and suddenly you abandon your center. You start negotiating with their perception. You become smaller, more careful, more apologetic. You treat their misunderstanding like an emergency. And once someone realizes that their silence can make you spiral, the balance changes. They notice that if they pull back, you will chase clarity. If they act cold, you will overprove your heart. If they misunderstand you, you will work harder to fix the image they have of you. And slowly, your explanations stop sounding like truth. They start sounding like fear wearing good grammar. Most of this usually begins before the relationship. Maybe you learned early that being misunderstood was dangerous. Maybe people assumed instead of asking. Maybe they judged before listening. Maybe love was withdrawn when you were not perfectly clear. So now, when someone misreads you, your nervous system does not treat it like a small misunderstanding. It treats it like a threat to connection, a threat to safety, a threat to being loved. So you explain before they ask. You justify before they accuse. You apologize before you even know if you did anything wrong. You give people access to your entire inner world just to prove you had no bad intention. But the more you reveal from fear, the more exposed you feel afterward. Because deep down you know you did not explain because you felt steady. You explained because you were scared of what they might think if you stayed quiet. There is a difference between clarity and over-explaining. Clarity is calm. It says what is true and lets it stand. Over-explaining is restless. It keeps adding, keeps defending, keeps trying to control the outcome. It tries to close every possible door where rejection could enter. But you cannot explain yourself into being valued. You cannot clarify your way into being respected. And you cannot give someone 10 versions of your truth and expect them to finally treat the 10th one as sacred. The moment you act like your truth needs endless approval, you make it look negotiable. And people often respect what feels anchored, not what keeps reshaping itself to avoid discomfort. This is why silence feels terrifying when you are used to over-explaining. Silence feels like guilt, like arrogance, like emotional distance. So you fill it with reasons, context, backstory, and disclaimers. You say, I didn't mean it like that, then I just wanted to say, then I hope you don't think. And with every extra sentence, the focus shifts. It is no longer about what happened. It becomes about your fear of being disliked. Sometimes the person misunderstanding you is not confused. They are committed to not understanding, because misunderstanding gives them control. If they keep acting offended, you keep proving yourself. If they keep acting distant, you keep reaching. If they make you feel unclear, you keep offering more of yourself. And that is where over-explaining becomes dangerous. Your honesty becomes something they can use against you. Your sensitivity becomes a handle. Your fear of being misread becomes a button they can press. They do not need to raise their voice. They only need to make you feel like you are failing to be understood. And you will do the rest. You will write the paragraph. You will soften the boundary. You will explain the pain. You will make your needs sound smaller so they do not feel attacked. You will turn your truth into something easier for them to digest. And then wonder why you feel weak afterward. But it is not because you spoke. It is because you abandoned yourself while speaking. Powerful people do not explain everything, not because they are cold, not because they do not care, but because they know that not every misunderstanding deserves access to their nervous system. Some things can be said once clearly, calmly, and left there. Your truth does not become more true because you repeat it 5 times. Your boundary does not become more valid because you decorate it with reasons. Your feelings do not become more acceptable because you make them convenient for someone else. There is strength in letting your words stand without chasing them, in saying what you mean and not running after someone to make sure they received it perfectly, in allowing someone to misunderstand you, if understanding you would require you to betray your own calm. That kind of strength feels uncomfortable at first, especially if you have spent years explaining yourself to stay connected. But sometimes not explaining reveals everything. It shows who respects your clarity and who only liked you when you were easy to make uncertain. At some point, peace begins when the explanation ends, not because they finally understand, but because you finally stop making their understanding the price of your stability. You say less, not to punish them, but because you no longer want to disappear inside your own defense. You stop turning every misunderstanding into an audition for love. You stop handing your power to people who only feel strong when you sound uncertain. And slowly something inside you comes back. Your words become fewer but heavier. Your silence becomes calmer. Your presence becomes harder to shake. Because you know what you meant. You know what you felt. You know what you gave. And for the right people, that will be enough. For the wrong people, nothing ever was. Maybe over-explaining does not make you look weak because you care too much. Maybe it makes you look weak because you forgot that caring does not require self-abandonment. Sometimes the strongest thing is not the perfect paragraph. It is the calm sentence, the pause after it, and the refusal to beg someone to believe what you already know is true.